afternoon, America, and welcome back to the Credible News, where we make news for credits. We're closing in on the end of the academic year, but you're not the only ones thinking about the loans you took out to get that fancy new degree. A few days ago, the Department of Education announced they'd be collecting debts on student loans in default on May 5th. These collections were paused back during the COVID-19 pandemic by President Trump and continued by Joe Biden up until very recently. Secretary McMahon claims that it'll help taxpayers that aren't in debt, but critics claim that this will negatively impact working class families that are just trying to get by. You see, this is in contrast to an executive order made by President Trump back in March to begin dismantling the Department of Education, threatening to tear down the efforts to keep education fair and accessible to everyone that have been ongoing for nearly 50 years. Back in 1979, President Carter reinstated the Department of Education as a cabinet-level office after a lengthy battle with Congress during his time in the White House. According to their official website, the primary function of the department are to establish policy for, administer, and coordinate most federal assistance to education, to collect data on U.S. schools, and to enforce federal educational laws regarding privacy and civil rights. President Carter was quoted as having been said, "I remain convinced that education is one of the noblest enterprises a person or a society can undertake." But unfortunately, our current administration doesn't seem to agree. And that's a real big problem for our country. In the United States, approximately 21%, or around a fifth of adults, are considered totally illiterate, with 54% of adults having literacy skills below a 6th grade level. That means there's a 50-50 shot that the last person you heard preach about gay people being against what's in the Bible couldn't get through one page of a Dr. Seuss book. It's not just adults who are suffering either. With our new generation being raised on distractions, things like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram Reels, attention spans in classrooms have never been lower. And it's never been harder to get kids to be involved in learning. We've actually got a statement from a teacher at Definitely Real High School to give you an idea of just how bad it's gotten in modern day classrooms.
I was only a teacher for a few months before COVID hit, but ever since then it's becoming more and more impossible to hold a room. The obvious lack of home training and the free use of internet at home, it's making these kids so brain rotted and distracted all the time. And other than that, we had an assignment due last week. It was basic literary analysis paper. We've been watching Shakespeare's Hamlet for weeks. All they had to do was tell me who the protagonist was, name an antagonist, and that's it. Despite these easy instructions, half the class couldn't tell me what either term meant, and I haven't received a paper over 6 sentences. And I haven't received a paper over 6 sentences in 2 years. So the school has given up, despite misspelling every other word and obviously not paying attention to the movie. Half of my class passed thanks to our new effort-based grading system. I predict next year we'll be grading based on vibes.
Oh, we're back? Sorry, I just got a little distracted. Aside from the astonishing decrease in literacy, can't be all bad. Letting parents choose what their kids will and won't learn can be a great thing. We can focus on raising more empathetic yet analytical kids, teaching our next generation real-world lessons that will be brushed over in the common school curriculum. This can be an amazing new start for education. We've actually got a real American mom in the studio tonight who's going to tell us all about the beauty of homeschooling. Take it away, Miss Jenkins.
Hi, y'all. It's Phyllis from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and I am just so excited for my TV debut. I am passionate about protecting our American values. And what is the number one American value? Independence and freedom of thinking. Now, my dear husband has taught me everything I know and believe to be true. Now, I believe that what these kids are learning should be up to us parents, not the government. My darling little Jimmy is 11, and he's already becoming a man. The government doesn't need to tell me what to teach my son. Little Jimmy already knows how to hunt. He knows 17 different types of ammo, and he knows which type of mushrooms could kill you. These kinds of things that would never be found in those useless Common Core books. So, what would I like my child to be taught in school? Well, I really don't like to dwell on the past. I have been married 3 times now, so I just think it's best to focus on the future and making America great again. I am happy as a pig eating slop to be out of Biden's America. I mean, you send your daughter to school, she'll come home with pronouns and an abortion. I mean, really, bless their hearts, but Trump has done whole wonders with this whole don't say gay thing. If the teacher's gay, transsexual, whatever, they just need to keep their private lives private. I don't need my kid's teacher teaching them the proper ways to prepare for anal sex. Am I right? And speaking of, I've already had the talk with my little Jimmy about what to do in case of an alien invasion and how to prevent being probed. All are welcome. Can you believe that? Luckily, I was able to get fired. I mean, I'm glad that Bingo is back in person again, but the pandemic was honestly the best thing for my boy. 2 years of homeschooling from his mama was just what he needed. When he was homeschooled, I swear he was just as smart as a tree full of owls. He isn't doing that great now that he's back in school, but I think that's why we needed to fund this whole thing anyway. Besides, I always say F is for freedom. I think we should take all this money from the Department of Education and really just put it towards the church. Oh, and while we're here, yeah, so that's all I have for now, really. But I thank you for listening, and power to the parents, and God bless America.
Well, here's hoping little Jimmy doesn't have any siblings learning the things he's getting taught. Unfortunately, it's not just the backwaters of Alabama that see this kind of education. It's even infected Capitol Hill. Recently, President Trump appointed a billionaire named Linda McMahon as the head of the Department of Education. She's had a long, successful career in her field, and here's a look at the kind of work she was doing. You might have been expecting a classroom, but that's the head of the Department of Education being on the receiving end of a tombstone pile driver on the stage of WWE Raw. You see, Miss McMahon has never been a teacher and has only ever had a bachelor's degree in French. But apparently, being the CEO of WWE was enough for the GOP to put her in charge of deciding what your kids are being taught. But why do all this to hinder education, when most people agree that we want our kids to do well in school and succeed? Studies show that in the last election, 53% of voters did not have college degrees. And the majority of those uneducated voters voted for Trump. When it came to voters with degrees, the majority of them voted for Kamala Harris. You see, it's in the GOP's best interest to keep you stupid so that you keep voting for them without a second thought. So America, let's stay in school, encourage our kids to learn, and fight against these acts against education so that we can make America smart again in this next election cycle. That's all I've got for you tonight, folks. Thanks for tuning in to The Credible News. And let's hope we all get A's on this assignment.